Hi, Zed Amoroso. I want to welcome you to Tag Talk. And today I want to cover a company that I know a lot of you are familiar with. It's called Checkpoint Software. It's a company that I think is as synonymous with cybersecurity as you can find. This is an iconic firm. They were created in 1993. That was like 5 years before Google. So they've been around a long time. For me personally, they had a real impact on my career. I remember the first time I saw Checkpoint Firewall 1 in kind of the mid 90s. Changed my life. I'd never seen an innovation like that in the way you manage firewalls and the way you use a GUI to kind of align policy decisions. It blew my mind. And I still, when I hear Checkpoint, I still think back to that moment of innovation. But I have to tell you, over the last 20 years or so, Checkpoint, like a lot of other large companies, has gotten into sort of this mode of acquiring. They purchase other companies, and while I think that that's a valid strategy, I also think it needs to be balanced. And I think at this point, my observation for the company is that they should be really parlaying their name, their tradition, their legacy in doing research into maybe a strategy that's a little bit more organic. So I've written about this. There's a report that you can download, read about Checkpoint, but I want to give you 3 points that I think are important for us as participants in cybersecurity and maybe for the leadership of Checkpoint, if you're watching, that I think would be the way that the company should proceed. So, first off, I do think that acquisitions need to be balanced with organic research. I think I see that all over the place where larger companies just sit back and essentially watch startups do the innovation and then they pick and choose one, bring them in. I don't think that's the way to do it. I think there's some companies that do that a little better. I think Palo, for example, is able to balance research with acquisition. I'd sure like to see Checkpoint get back to their roots of innovation and invention and coming up with new things. So that's kind of number one. Number two is that Checkpoint perfectly timed their growth. Mid 90s to about now, you couldn't pick a 30-year period that was more perfect for a security company because we were a growth industry. Security is not a growth industry anymore. So Checkpoint is going to have to rethink the way it sells to its base. It's going to have to think more like a CIO selling organization where it's about rationalization and lower cost and optimization. And when I say lower cost, I mean that. I mean that instead of, assuming that each year you're going to be getting more from your client base, you have to assume that the economics will be that buyers will expect lower cost each year. But the most important thing of all is that I think Checkpoint needs to rethink from a financial perspective whether, things like stock repurchases, which I see them doing, and maybe even rejecting some acquisition offers of them, they should think that through. I'd like to see them use their money for research. And I also think that when you're at your height, their finances are good, the company seems very healthy. I could see a large acquisition. I could see an Amazon or somebody coming in and buying the company. That would be something that if I was on their board, I'd advise them to take. So if you're a buyer of Checkpoint, you should be in tune with these things. I think the company's at an inflection point. It's financially sound. They're probably at their peak of influence, but I have a feeling that unless they make some significant changes in the way they do research and development, that some of that could change. But we'll watch, we'll see. And again, I hope you'll download the report that I've written about them. It's got some detail into my insights in the company, a little bit about the history, and definitely harkens back to my personal kind of very fondness for this company, given the impact it had on my early career. So again, I hope you'll like and subscribe to our channel, and we'll look forward to talking to you next time.